Why would you cheer if you are a Tea Party person, why would you cheer somebody who raised taxes, created the prototype of Obamacare, appointed liberal judges to appease the Democrats, that's his language, not mine, and put in tax-paid abortions, took care of Planned Parenthood?
Newt Gingrich has not seen a surge since Iowa. He has left the I'm going to be positive, sunshine and lollipops behind, and now he is Newt, as Karl Rove said, the guy with the chainsaw, the hockey mask, who's coming for you and your children now. Well, he's hitting back, no doubt about it. The release of an ad which rips apart the history of Mitt Romney's Bain Capital, the investments in companies. Some investments and some takeovers of companies ended up, gutting companies, seeing workforces pared down drastically, pensions, so forth, with the steel companies in Pennsylvania. About a 22% bankruptcy, i.e. failure rate for the Bain Capital investments. But is this all too much, too deep in the weeds for people to really grab onto? And is it even fair? It's a very complex analysis to look at an investment group's record, but the Wall Street Journal does so today. And Jack Welch was on Squawk Box on CNBC, and he was one of the most successful CEOs ever. And he said Mitt Romney should get a lot of credit for what he did at Bain Capital. Meanwhile, people like Bernie Marcus and Ken Langone, we'll see what they say about Bain Capital. But I think the idea of trying to rebuild your campaign on ripping apart Bain Capital, I'm not sure it's a winner. I'm really not. At a Gingrich rally right now is Tucker Carlson. He gets the pulse for us in New Hampshire. How is this attack on Bain Capital working from his perspective, from the Daily Caller, which has done terrific reporting throughout this campaign? Tucker joins us now. Hey, Tucker, how are you?
Hey, Laura. I'm terrific. Thank you.
Tell us how you think this is playing out. The ad released today, and we see the trailer on the internet. It's about 3 minutes. And Newt Gingrich, starts the ad off with, manufacturing in America used to be strong, and we believe in real free enterprise. Then it goes to this dark vision of basically black and white with smoke-filled rooms and a guy chomping a cigar. And then this is Mitt Romney's America, where jobs are gutted and companies are raided.
Well, let me just say that this is exactly what Newt is good at. For all the talk of, his work as a historian and him being a futurist, what he's really great at is slash and burn. He's just an inherently very bitchy man, and I think he's a master of the attacks. I actually like watching him just because he's such an artisan when he pulls it off. These attacks are certain to infuriate a lot of conservatives, principled, market absolutist type of conservatives. Market people hate this kind of stuff. They take on faith that Bain does great work. And I got to say, I know a number of people who work at Bain, and they're some of the smartest people I do know. And even if you talk to any people in that community, they'll tell you that Bain is the Harvard of the business. So these attacks are not directed at conservatives in Washington. Newt has lost them. But I think, if you take 3 steps back and open your mind a little bit, why shouldn't we know more about Bain, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know what I think, but I think it's worth learning more about it. And actually, I think this is a potentially fruitful attack for Newt.
Well, and you can also make the argument, can't you, as David Axelrod started to do over the weekend in the Sunday Show appearance, this is going to be in the Obama playbook anyway, right? I mean, this is going to be here, so all these deals are going to be scrutinized, the good ones and the bad ones. And so, idea, what's the big deal?
You hear conservatives say, and I buy this most of the time, but that capitalism is by its nature destructive, and that's one of the best parts about capitalism. It sloughs off the inefficient elements in business and replaces them with new and vibrant and profitable businesses. Look, I buy that. I get that. I think that's wonderful. But that doesn't mean that all destruction that takes place in the name of capitalism is good. One does not equal the other. And there are, in fact, people in this. There are businesses, there are private equity firms that do actually act as parasites on companies. I'm sorry, that's just true. I'm as pro-market as anybody. I run a company. I mean, I'm all for profit. But come on. I mean, right? Not everybody who runs a private equity firm is a good person who's got efficiency in mind. They're not all that way. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to watching the Newt documentary. And again, his nastiness is a thing of art, and we should enjoy it.
Well, I noticed that during this exchange on Sunday, did you? I assume you watched both of the events. I
was actually in the room. I was at the debates.
Oh, great. Okay, so on a Sunday morning, 12 hours after the Saturday debate that was bizarrely focused on contraception and gay marriage, which just seemed to me that I don't even know anyone who's talking about those issues, but it's a media framing it.
Contraception, I think a lot of people are concerned they're coming for the condoms. You know, I hear a lot of voters talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
People are stockpiling them. Actually,
I mean, it's like the light bulbs and exactly. So we come up to Sunday, and then that's when it started to get hot, and Gingrich was telling him to drop the baloney, and it's your pious idea that you've been out there and you've just been creating jobs. Well, you're not a career politician, and it seemed to me that Romney, instead of, I don't know, he seems a little nervous when Gingrich comes at him. He starts blinking a little bit. Did you notice the blinking? It seemed to be blinking rapid fire.
Yes, and his voice rises, and he starts complaining that whoever is going after him is violating the rules of the debate. And it's a very unattractive response and a very unappealing posture he strikes whenever he's attacked. And you don't want to argue with Newt because, again, this is what Newt does best. He clearly enjoys it. You know, Newt's like the unhappy fat kid who, learned to hone his verbal skills as a way of defending himself. When I hear Newt, and I'm not attacking him, I'm saying this admiringly, but when I see him on stage savaging Romney or whomever, the moderator, it doesn't matter, you really see him in sixth grade with thick glasses, getting pushed around, coming back with words that the bullies don't understand. I'm serious. This is how people get so articulate because they're not athletes. So they're not picked for kickball, so they have to find some defense mechanism. And Newt must have been a terrible kickball player, and that's how he got so nasty.
Well, now it's a new sport. It's called kicking moderate tail. That's what he's doing now. So
it's pretty great, even though Newt himself is obviously no conservative in a lot of ways. You can point to a lot of episodes in his career that are anathema to conservatives, but he's been a very good voice for conservatism in this race so far.
It seems that he's like a tiger that has had to be that's been mildly tranquilized in the cage for the zoo goers who are, oh look, the tiger's so sweet, and the tiger's kind of a little slow, and then when that tranquilizer wears off and they throw one little piece of meat in that tiger is vicious. It just comes, and it's so glad to be back to its old tiger self. But nevertheless, it's not really. Go ahead.
No, I just love that. I'm actually taking mental notes so I can steal it and repeat it.
Yeah, okay, good. That's fine. Well, as long as you don't give us credit, that's fine.
No, are you kidding? I never give anybody credit. Laura, if I could pass on to my 4 children the secret to my success, don't give credit. Appropriate it as your own.
No, okay. That's so. As I was saying, Tucker Carlson from the National Review is with us here on the Laura Ingraham Show, and NR has been doing great reporting throughout this process. NR, Weekly Standard. He does some blogging for the Standard as well. Tucker, what about South Carolina? Because this is really, I think, Newt is speaking to the South Carolina voters. He did with his response to the contraception and the gay marriage question, saying there's anti-Christian bias out there. What about the Catholic people, their deeply held beliefs, don't they count in evangelical voters? He was speaking to them, but is it too late? I mean, is this stand of Newt's and Santorum's? We haven't talked enough about Santorum today. Is it too late?
Well, you sure hope not, and of course I'm saying that as someone with a vested interest in having this contest continue literally forever. But I also think it's probably good for the eventual nominee to hone his rhetoric in this race. It's not, it doesn't help anybody to pick a nominee immediately. It looks like Romney could take the first 3 contests, and it's pretty tough. Well, historically, it's been impossible to come back after that. But I got to say, having been to a lot of Rick Santorum events in the last 2 weeks in Iowa and here in New Hampshire, I'm amazed by how polished that guy has become. And I'm not any kind of Santorum acolyte. I knew him pretty well from Fox, but I just never thought of him as a candidate. I am impressed. I'm impressed by the thoughtfulness of his positions, of the toughness of some of them. His Social Security position is the bravest thing I've seen a candidate this year say out loud. And I'm impressed by his posture, the way he comes across. He comes across as not a wild-eyed zealot at all, but as a thoroughly reasonable, principled, decent person. And he does not come across that way in the debates necessarily. But take a look at his performance in these town hall meetings. It's been superb, and I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
and,
I was in Iowa with him. I was in Iowa with him and watching him on the stump, and I agree. I think over time he's gotten much better. And my probably only criticism of him is he needs to look like he's having more fun up there. He looks kind of sometimes in pain almost. He's kind of gritting his teeth and gritting his words through and he looks down a little bit. He needs to be more of the happy warrior, which, is difficult when you think the culture's going down the tubes, your faith is being attacked, and, we're losing ground everywhere, and Iran's going to blow the whole region up. I mean, it's hard, I guess, to be happy, but you've got to find a way to be a little more jolly, I think.
I think that's true. I saw him last night, and he had reached that place. I think he may be so tired that he can't really think clearly anymore, and he's just happy. But, I mean, the guy welcomes these attacks. Every town hall meeting he gets asked about gay marriage, which, as you know, is the most important issue in the United States by far.
Yes, it's the only thing people are talking about.
Turns out Santorum has almost exactly the same position as Barack Obama on gay marriage. So, of course, he has all.
But he should just say that. Why doesn't he just say, look, I'm focused on my economic plan, but as far as I could tell, the Obama from 2008, and I agree, as does most of the candidates up on stage, that this is what marriage is. And meanwhile, I'm going to turn this country around and its economy around. And the Wall Street Journal today says my plan is bolder than Mitt Romney's. And I just
way bolder.
I mean, move to the next point. I don't know why these people engage in these long back and forth with liberal college students. I mean, you're not there to give a speech by the Washington Speakers Bureau. You're there to build a coalition. And Tucker, we see the numbers today. Mitt Romney has been able to win over a significant chunk of those independent voters in these polls, which are going to be crucial for this general election. Independent voters in New Hampshire, but also independent voters critical, 10-12% of them, when it comes to going up against Barack Obama, and Romney's been able to bring those in.
Yeah, I don't, and it's hard to see Santorum doing that, mostly because of his reputation as this wild-eyed culture warrior. And I'm just surprised by how much the reality of Rick Santorum on the stump clashes with the perception of him. But it's probably, as you suggest, too late. I got to say, the point that Santorum's economic plan is bolder than Romney's. I mean, my kids have economic plans that are bolder than Romney's. That doesn't say too much. I mean,
hey, by the way, your Daily Caller has a piece today about buying elections and buying votes. That we might be at a point now where, you say Gingrich implies Romney's buying the election. It goes into some detail about how he cites Bloomberg and now Romney in the money they spend per vote is disturbing. Do you think that's a successful or useful criticism? I mean, are we going to start limiting now what individuals can spend on their own campaigns, or I don't know where that goes.
No, it's whining, and you can always tell who's losing and who indeed is going to lose by how much the candidates are whining, and the guy who's the whiniest usually comes in last place. I mean, it's unattractive. Voters don't care for it. They almost never reward it. Boo-hoo, pal. Nobody cares about your suffering at all. He's spending more money than I am because people intuitively know that the candidate with a lot of support typically has a lot of money because people support him with their money. I mean, it's not complicated.
No, to me that's a weak. It's just complaining about the negative ads and complaining about the money. I mean, you're right. It shows who's ahead. And Tucker, you might not know this, but just came out. Romney now has a huge lead in Florida. Quinnipiac poll shows that even though most voters say they could change their mind, Romney has opened up a fairly impressive lead considering where he was 3 weeks ago. 36% of likely primary voters say he's their candidate. And 12 points back is Gingrich at 24%.
Let me ask you a favor,
yes.
Laura. You're going to talk to Romney, I'm sure, before I do. And when you do, ask him why he's turned down all kinds of centrist and conservative news outlets for interviews, but he's given an interview to the Huffington Post. I wonder why that is. And the Washington Post and Politico. Why is it? Why ask any conservative who's traveling and covering this race, and I mean from really famous people who I was just with this morning to just like ordinary conservative reporters, ask them how they feel about the Romney press operation. And if you can find a single one of them who isn't offended by the way he's been treated by the Romney press operation, I will buy you dinner. I don't think you can. So what is that about? Like, why alienate people?
I will try to get to the bottom of that, and I appreciate getting that information. Tucker Carlson from the Daily Caller. Tucker, it's great to have your perspective on the ground. Thanks for everything you're doing out there.
Thanks, Laura.